The crystal archives of Zephyria hummed with ancient power as scholar Vex-High ran her long fingers across the glowing symbols. These were the oldest records in the galaxy, dating back 12 million years to when the precursors still walked among the stars. Most beings considered them myths and legends, but Vex-High knew better. The precursors had been real, and their warnings were carved in quantum stone that could never lie. "Beware the children of the third planet," she whispered, reading the familiar passage aloud. "Born of violence and chaos, they shall inherit the void. Their fury knows no bounds, their mercy deeper than black holes. They are the balance that tips toward extinction or salvation." Her assistant, young Krell-Du, shifted nervously behind her. "Scholar, surely you don't believe these old stories? The Galactic Council has classified the Sol system as a restricted zone for good reason. It's a death world filled with savage primitives." Vex-High's golden eyes reflected the crystal's light as she turned to face him. "The Council restricts Sol because they fear what they don't understand. But the precursors understood. They met humanity once, long ago, when they were even more primitive than now. The encounter changed the precursors so deeply that they abandoned physical form entirely." The archive chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the crystals. Krell-Du's tentacles twitched with unease. Like most galactic citizens, he'd grown up hearing whispered stories about the humans. They were the bogeymen that parents used to frighten children into good behavior. Tales spoke of creatures so violent they waged war on their own kind. So stubborn they fought losing battles to the bitter end. So unpredictable that they formed bonds with natural predators. "Look at this," Vex-High said, activating another crystal. The chamber filled with holographic images of a blue-green world. "Beautiful, isn't it? But also deadly. The gravity would crush most species. The atmosphere contains poison gas that burns lung tissue. The weather systems spawn hurricanes that could level cities. The tectonic plates shift constantly, creating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The oceans teem with predators larger than most starships." Krell-Du watched in fascination as the images showed massive creatures breaching the water's surface, their jaws capable of crushing armored vehicles. "How does anything survive there?" Not just survive," Vex-High corrected. "Thrive. Humans didn't just adapt to their world's challenges, they conquered them. They domesticated creatures that should have eaten them. They built cities in earthquake zones and sailed ships across monster-filled seas. They turned a death world into a garden, but kept all the dangerous parts that made them strong." The scholar moved to another section of the archives, where darker crystals pulsed with warning lights. The precursors left specific instructions. Humanity was to remain isolated until they proved themselves ready for galactic contact. The test would be simple: could they overcome their own violent nature and unite their species? But they failed that test, Krell-Du argued. Intelligence reports show they're still fighting wars, destroying their environment, creating weapons of mass destruction. "Surface observations only," Vex-High said sadly. "The Council sees what it expects to see. They monitor human military transmissions and assume that's all there is. But the precursors' crystals show deeper truths." She activated a different archive, and suddenly the chamber filled with images of human achievements that took Krell-Du's breath away. Massive space stations that dwarfed anything in the modern galaxy. Generation ships capable of crossing the void between galaxies. Terraforming technology that could transform dead worlds into paradises in mere decades. "Impossible," Krell-Du breathed. "Our long-range sensors show only primitive rocket technology. Hidden." Vex-High explained. "Humans learned early that the universe is dangerous. They developed their true capabilities in secret, showing the galaxy only what they want it to see. The Council thinks they're monitoring a primitive species taking its first steps into space. In reality, human exploration fleets reached the edge of the galaxy centuries ago." The revelations struck Krell-Du like physical blows. Everything he'd been taught about galactic history suddenly seemed wrong. Why hide such achievements? Why not join the galactic community? "Because they remember the precursors' warnings," Vex-High said grimly. "Humanity isn't hiding from the galaxy out of fear. They're protecting the galaxy from themselves." They know what they're capable of when pushed too far. She activated the final crystal, and the chamber filled with scenes of devastation that made Kreldu's blood run cold. Entire star systems reduced to rubble. Planets cracked open like eggs. Space fleets numbering in the millions locked in battles that raged for years. And through it all, humans fought with a terrifying combination of tactical genius and berserker fury that left their enemies broken and their allies awed. The precursors called it the human solution, Vex High whispered. When faced with an impossible problem, humans don't seek compromise or negotiate surrender. They find a way to win, no matter the cost. It's both their greatest strength and their most dangerous weakness. A new sound echoed through the chamber, the emergency alert of incoming ships. Kreldu rushed to the viewing portal and gasped at what he saw. The sky above Zephyria burned with the exhaust trails of a massive invasion fleet. Ships of unknown design, dark and angular, descended like a plague of locusts toward the planet's surface. The Devourers, Vexhai said quietly, recognizing the ship configurations from ancient records. They've returned from the void between galaxies, just as the precursors predicted they would. We have to warn the Council, Kreldu said, reaching for his communication device. Too late, Vex's High replied, watching the lead ships begin their bombardment of the capital city. The Devourers don't negotiate or take prisoners. They consume entire civilizations, adding their knowledge and technology to their collective. The Galactic Fleet won't be enough to stop them. Then we're doomed? Vex High smiled grimly and activated one final crystal. Not doomed. The precursors prepared for this day. They left us a gift, a signal beacon that could reach Earth in an instant. You want to call the humans? But they're primitives. No, Vex High said, her hand hovering over the beacon's activation switch. They're weapons. The precursors designed them specifically to be weapons, the ultimate predators capable of hunting and destroying the Devourers. But weapons this powerful can't be used carelessly. The ground shook as Devourer ships landed in the city below. Screams echoed across the communication channels as the invasion began in earnest. Through the chamber's windows, they could see the geometric perfection of Zephyrian architecture being systematically dismantled by creatures that moved with mechanical precision. Do it, Kreldu whispered. Whatever the cost, we have to try. Vexhigh's hand trembled as she reached for the beacon. Once activated, there would be no going back. The galaxy would learn the truth about humanity, one way or another. She thought of all the peaceful species that would face that truth. Some would be terrified, others grateful. But all would be changed forever. The crystal archives around them began to crack under the vibrations of the ongoing bombardment. Ancient knowledge that had survived for millions of years was being destroyed in minutes. If they didn't act now, the beacon would be lost forever. Forgive us, Vex High whispered to the memory of the precursors, and pressed the activation switch. The beacon sent its signal racing across the galaxy faster than light itself, carrying with it the genetic and psychological profiles that would unlock humanity's true nature. On a blue world orbiting a yellow star, certain humans would begin to change. The pretense of being a primitive species would fall away like old skin. Somewhere in the hidden depths of Luna Base, Admiral Sarah Chen felt the activation signal reach her neural implants. Her eyes snapped open, glowing with an inner light that hadn't been seen for centuries. Around her, other figures began to stir from their long sleep. Time to wake up, she said softly. The galaxy needs us. The Devourer invasion of Zephyria continued, but their victory celebration would be short-lived. They had made a critical error in their calculations. They had assumed the galaxy held only the weak, peaceful species they had observed from the void. They were about to learn why the ancients had locked away their greatest weapons. They were about to meet humanity unchained. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching her crew emerge from centuries-long stasis with practiced efficiency. No confusion, no disorientation, just smooth transitions from sleep to full combat readiness. This was what humanity had become during their isolation, a species that could hibernate for generations while remaining ready for war at a moment's notice. Status report, she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded fleets when most current galactic civilizations were still discovering agriculture. Commander Torres materialized from the shadows, his cybernetic implants already interfacing with the base's systems. Beacon activation confirmed from the Zephyrian archives. Long-range sensors detect massive Devourer incursion across 17 sectors. Galactic Defense Fleet has lost 40% of their ships in the initial engagement. Chen nodded grimly. The galaxy's peacekeepers were brave, but they had grown soft during the long peace. They fought wars like sporting events, with rules and honor codes that meant nothing to the Devourers. How long do we have? At current consumption rates, the Devourers will reach the galactic core in 6 months. Earth's position gives us perhaps 8 months before they arrive here. More than enough, Chen said. Moving to the massive holographic display that dominated the center's main floor. With a gesture, she activated tactical overlays that showed the galaxy's true state. Red zones marked Devourer conquests. Blue zones showed remaining galactic territories, and small yellow dots indicated hidden human outposts scattered throughout the spiral arms. For 300 years, humanity had been playing the greatest deception in galactic history. While the Galaxy Council monitored Sol System and classified humans as a primitive species, barely capable of interplanetary travel, the real human civilization had been spreading through the dark spaces between stars. Hidden colonies, secret research stations, and massive industrial complexes operated in the void where no galactic survey ship had ever ventured. "Bring up Project Lazarus," Chen commanded. The display shifted to show the interior of a vast construction facility hidden in the asteroid belt of a distant system. Hundreds of ships waited in perfect formation, vessels that dwarfed anything in the current galactic fleet. These weren't the crude rockets the Council believed humans used. These were true warships, built with technology that combined human innovation with carefully studied alien techniques. "Lazarus fleet is fully operational," Torres reported. 200 dreadnoughts, 500 heavy cruisers, 1,000 destroyers, and 3,000 support vessels. All ships crewed and ready for immediate deployment. "And our special assets?" Torres smiled grimly. "The Horsemen are standing by." Chen felt a moment of doubt. The Horsemen were humanity's answer to the galaxy's greatest threats, 4 massive automated ships that represented the pinnacle of human military engineering. Each one was capable of destroying entire fleets. But they came with a terrible cost. Once unleashed, they were almost impossible to control. "Display current Devourer fleet composition," she ordered. The hologram, filled with enemy vessels, millions of them, spread across dozens of star systems like a mechanical plague. Each ship was perfectly identical, manufactured by the Devourer's hive-mind intelligence in massive automated factories that consumed entire worlds to fuel their production. "They've grown stronger since last time," Chen observed. "Quantum shielding, dimensional phase cannons, matter converters. They've been busy during their exile. Should we contact the Council?" Torres asked. "Offer our assistance?" Chen considered this carefully. Making contact would end humanity's isolation, forever. Once the galaxy knew what humans were truly capable of, there would be no going back to the old pretense. Some species would welcome them as saviors. Others would see them as a threat that needed to be destroyed. The peaceful balance the galaxy had maintained for millennia would be shattered. "Not yet," she decided. "Let's see how they handle the next wave first." The holographic display shifted to show the besieged Council fleet, making its desperate stand around the fortress world of Andromache Prime. Admiral Thisizara, a vegan warrior poet known for her tactical brilliance, had gathered the remnants of 17 different species navies into a final defensive line. They were outnumbered 50 to 1. Chen watched as the Council ships fought with everything they had. Thermal lances carved through Devourer hulls. Plasma torpedoes detonated in brilliant flashes of destruction. Shield networks flickered and failed under concentrated fire. It was beautiful and tragic, a civilization fighting for its very existence with weapons designed for peace enforcement rather than total war. "They're not going to make it," Torres observed. "No," Chen agreed. "But they're buying us time. Every Devourer ship they destroy is one less we'll have to face later." The display updated to show Devourer reinforcements arriving through dimensional gates, fresh fleets pouring in from conquered systems. The mathematics were brutal. At this rate, the Council fleet would be completely destroyed within hours. "Admiral," a new voice interrupted. Lieutenant Zhao stepped forward, her young face marked by concern. "We're receiving desperate transmissions from Andromache Prime. Civilian populations are requesting immediate evacuation assistance." Chen closed her eyes. This was the moment she had dreaded for 3 centuries. Millions of innocent beings were about to die, and humanity had the power to save them. But revealing themselves now, without proper preparation, could doom the entire galaxy. "How many civilians?" she asked quietly. 12 billion across the fortress world and its orbital habitats. The number hung in the air like a physical weight. Chen thought of Earth's own populations, the secret colonies that relied on her decisions for their survival. If she revealed humanity too early, the Devourers might target Earth before the Lazarus fleet was in position. "Admiral," Torres said softly, "remember what the precursors taught us. Sometimes the hardest decision is the right one." Chen opened her eyes and looked at her crew. These people had volunteered to sleep for centuries, to sacrifice normal lives, to become weapons in service of a greater cause. They understood the burden of command in ways the galaxy's current leaders never could. "Patch me through to Admiral Thisazara," she commanded. "Encrypted channel, origin masked. Connection established. Admiral Thisazara, this is Ghost Angel Actual. We've been monitoring your situation." The vegan admiral's voice came through, strained with exhaustion but still carrying noble authority. "Ghost Angel? I don't recognize that call sign. What fleet are you with?" "An old one," Chen replied. "We're in position to provide fire support, but it's going to be unconventional. Can your people handle a sudden tactical shift? At this point, I'd accept help from the ancient spirits themselves." "What do you need?" Chen looked at her tactical display one more time. The Devourer fleet was moving into perfect position, concentrated, overconfident, completely unprepared for what was about to happen. "Just hold your current positions and be ready for some impossible things. We're about to introduce the Devourers to an old friend they haven't seen in a long time." She turned to Torres. "Signal the Lazarus fleet. Begin Operation Pandora. Authorization code. Remember the precursors." Across the galaxy, hidden shipyards came alive. Massive vessels that had waited in the darkness for centuries began to move. Weapons systems that existed beyond current galactic understanding powered up for the first time in 300 years. "Admiral," Zhao said, monitoring the communication channels. "The Council fleet is detecting massive energy signatures. They're asking for clarification on our fleet's strength." Chen smiled grimly. "Tell them they're about to see why the ancients warned everyone to leave humanity alone." The first human warship materialized out of the void like a nightmare made manifest. It was enormous, larger than anything in galactic records, and its hull was covered in weapon systems that defied conventional physics. As it approached the battlefield, space itself seemed to bend around its passage. Admiral Thisazara's voice came through the communication channel, filled with awe and terror. "Ghost Angel, what exactly are you people?" Chen watched her ship's tactical display as more vessels dropped out of dimensional fold space around the Devourer fleet. The enemy's perfect formations suddenly looked vulnerable and trapped. "We're what happens when a Deathworld species has 300 years to prepare for war," she replied. "Now let's show these Devourers why the galaxy has been so peaceful lately." The first human weapons fired, and the nature of the conflict changed forever. The first human salvo tore through the Devourer fleet like physics had suddenly changed its mind about how destruction worked. Where the galactic weapons created explosions and debris fields, human weapons simply unmade things. Devourer ships didn't explode, they folded in on themselves, twisted into impossible geometries, or simply ceased to exist as their matter was converted into pure energy. Admiral Thisazara watched in stunned silence as a single human vessel engaged an entire Devourer squadron. The ship moved like a living thing, dancing between enemy fire with grace that seemed to mock the laws of momentum. Its weapons spoke in languages of destruction that had no names, reality tears that carved through multiple ships at once, gravity bombs that crushed hulls like paper, and something that looked suspiciously like controlled singularities. "Ghost Angel," she transmitted, her voice barely steady. "Your ship's power output is reading as impossible. Our sensors must be malfunctioning." Admiral Chen's voice came back, tinged with something that might have been sadness. "Your sensors are fine, Admiral. You're just seeing humanity without the masks we've worn for 3 centuries." More human ships materialized across the battlefield, each one a technological marvel that rewrote the book on naval warfare. The Lazarus fleet deployed in formations that utilized 3-dimensional space in ways the Galactic Council had never imagined. Some ships attacked from above and below the galactic plane, others phased in and out of normal space-time, striking from directions that technically didn't exist. The Devourers, for all their mechanical perfection, had never encountered an enemy like this. Their hive-mind intelligence processed the new threat with digital confusion. These weren't the weak, scattered species they had consumed before. These were predators that had spent 3 centuries learning how to kill efficiently. "Chen to all ships," Admiral Chen broadcast on the human tactical frequency. "Remember the precursor protocols. Minimum necessary force. We're here to stop the Devourers, not terrify our allies." But the restraint was relative. Even fighting at reduced capacity, the human fleet was devastating. A single human destroyer disabled 3 Devourer heavy cruisers in under a minute. A human cruiser engaged an entire Devourer battle group and emerged without a scratch on its hull. The mathematical precision of human tactics was beautiful and terrible to witness. Admiral Thisazara coordinated her remaining council ships to support the human advance, but she quickly realized they were hardly needed. The humans fought with a tactical coordination that suggested they shared some kind of enhanced communication system. Ships moved in perfect synchronization. Weapons fire was timed to create cascading failures in enemy formations, and their overall strategy unfolded with clockwork precision. "All Devourer ships in Sector 7 have been neutralized," came a report from Commander Torres aboard the human flagship. "Moving to engage the reserve fleet." "Negative," Chen replied. "Let them run. We want survivors to carry word back to their main force." Thisazara was puzzled by this. "Ghost Angel, why allow the enemy to escape? We could end this threat permanently." "Because ending threats permanently is how you create new ones," Chen explained. "The Devourers need to understand that Earth is defended. If we destroy them completely, some other threat might decide to test our defenses. Better to leave survivors who can spread the word." The tactical display showed the remaining Devourer ships retreating toward their dimensional gates. They moved with uncharacteristic urgency, their hive-mind intelligence clearly communicating the new threat assessment to the greater collective. "Admiral," Lieutenant Zhao reported, "we're receiving priority transmissions from the Galactic Council. They're demanding immediate explanations for the appearance of unknown military assets in Council space." Chen sighed. The political complications were just beginning. "Put me through to the Council emergency session." The main display shifted to show the Council chambers on Nexus Prime. Representatives from dozens of species filled the amphitheater-like hall, their expressions ranging from relief to terror as they looked upon the human fleet that had saved them. Councillor Vashti, the ancient Thraxian who served as council speaker, spoke first. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves immediately. By what authority do you operate military assets in Council space?" "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, of the Terran Defense Force," Chen replied, allowing her true rank and allegiance to be known for the first time in centuries. "We operate under the Precursor Accords. Emergency provisions for galactic-level threats." The chamber erupted in chaos. Half the representatives had never heard of any Precursor Accords. The other half were frantically accessing their species' oldest archives, searching for any reference to such documents. Scholar Vex High's image appeared on a secondary display, transmitted from what remained of the Zephyrian archives. Councillor Vashti. "The Precursor Accords are real. They were sealed in the Crystal Archives 12 million years ago, activated only when the galaxy faced extinction-level threats." "Impossible," declared Councillor Brexon, The Himnarian military representative. Humanity is classified as a pre-spaceflight species. Our observations show they've barely achieved primitive rocket technology. Admiral Chen's smile was visible even through the transmission encryption. Counselor, your observation posts have been monitoring our puppet show for 3 centuries. While you watched crude rockets bumble around the Sol system, our real civilization has been spread across the galaxy's dark zones. She gestured, and the tactical display zoomed out to show the true extent of human space. Hundreds of star systems showed signs of human presence, not the sprawling, obvious development of council species, but subtle modifications that spoke of a civilization that valued stealth and security above ostentatious display. We've been your neighbors all along, Chen continued. Mining operations in dead systems, research stations in nebula clouds, listening posts on the galaxy's rim. We've been watching, learning, and preparing for the day when something like the Devourers returned. The council chamber fell silent as representatives processed the implications. Humanity hadn't just hidden their technological advancement, they had hidden an entire interstellar civilization. The balance of galactic power had just shifted in ways none of them could fully comprehend. Why reveal yourselves now? Counselor Vashti asked quietly. Because the Devourers are just the beginning, Chen replied. The precursors left warnings about other threats. Beings from dark space. Machines that consume entire galaxies. Entities that exist between dimensions. The long peace is ending, and the galaxy needs to be ready. Admiral Thisacera stepped forward in the council chamber. With respect to all present, I've just witnessed the human fleet in action. Their capabilities are beyond anything in our current arsenal. If they say greater threats are coming, we should listen. Counselor Brexon was less convinced. How do we know humanity won't become the threat? You've hidden your true nature from us for centuries. What guarantees do we have of your peaceful intentions? Chen considered the question carefully. It was fair, given the circumstances. You have the same guarantee the precursors left our own nature. Humans are predators, Counselor. But we're also protectors. We form pack bonds that extend beyond our own species. We fight hardest for those we consider family, and after 3 centuries of watching over the galaxy, we consider all of you family. To demonstrate her point, Chen activated another display showing human rescue operations already underway. Human ships were evacuating damaged council vessels, providing medical aid to alien crew members, and establishing emergency supply lines to worlds threatened by Devourer attacks. The same vessels that had just unleashed terrible destruction were now working with gentle precision to save lives. The choice is yours, Chen said. Humanity is returning to galactic society whether you welcome us or not. The threats ahead are too great for us to remain hidden. You can work with us as allies, or you can try to oppose us as enemies. But either way, we'll be here when the real darkness comes. The council chamber buzzed with urgent conversations as representatives consulted with their home governments. Some species were clearly terrified by the revelation of human capabilities. Others seemed relieved to learn they had such powerful protectors. A few, notably the warrior cultures, appeared intrigued by the possibility of learning from human military techniques. Scholar Vexhi's voice cut through the noise. May I remind the Council that the precursors specifically designed humanity to be the galaxy's last line of defense? They didn't create humans to be conquerors, they created them to be guardians. The fact that they've revealed themselves now proves the threat level has reached critical stages. What about the Devourers? Asked Admiral Thisera. Will they return? Chen checked her tactical displays, where long-range sensors tracked the retreating enemy fleet. They'll go back to dark space and reassess. The hive mind will spend years analyzing what happened here, trying to understand how we defeated them so easily. That gives us time to prepare the galaxy for what's really coming. And what is really coming? Counselor Vashti asked. Chen's expression grew grave. According to the precursor archives, the Devourers were just scouts. The real invasion force is still gathering in dark space, billions of ships under the control of something the precursors called the Final Hunger. When it arrives, every living thing in the galaxy will be targeted for consumption. The chamber fell silent again. the weight of this revelation settling over the assembled representatives like a shroud. "How long do we have?" whispered Counselor Brexon. 5 years, Chen replied. "Maybe less. Which means we need to start working together immediately. Humanity has the weapons and tactics needed to fight this enemy. But we'll need the combined industrial might of every council species to build enough ships for what's coming." Admiral Thisazara stepped forward. "What do you need from us?" "What is I?" Chen smiled. And for the first time, it held genuine warmth instead of grim determination. "Everything you can give. Ships, crews, factories, scientists, and most importantly, trust. Because when the final hunger arrives, it won't matter what species we come from. We'll all be fighting for the same thing, the right to exist." The galaxy would never be the same. The age of innocence was ending, and the age of unity was about to begin. Humanity had returned to galactic society not as conquered primitives, but as the guardians they were always meant to be. The ancients' warnings had finally been heeded, but only because catastrophe had forced the truth into the light. Now, united at last, the galaxy would face whatever darkness awaited among the stars.